over the edge. Feel like I'm floating through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless. Burning the bridge that keeps us. I'm here and I'm feeling fearless. Exaggerated, that's what you assume. The story's over now, I must conclude. I am conflicted, watching where I step still, hanging in the balance. Not the life I want to live, I want to take it all. Standing tall, fear I weighed the person you are. Oh, break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.
All right, guys. I chose Fearless today because I felt like it was probably a good song to play. All right. So I did do some buying with the last of my funds. I sold the last of my TMF. Got about 30,000 in cash together today and then bought BITX. I'm up about 3,300 or something on that call right now, but I lost enough money to more than make up for that. Now, down about 200,000-ish today. If you look, obviously the Japanese carry trade played a big part of what happened today. It just obliterated markets. We did have a nice bounce this morning. It started off deep in the red, and then started to come back. I do want to point something out too. If you guys look right down here, you'll see that I have Palantir up on the 1-hour chart. Since we have earnings, I wanted to see how things were going with that. So I will keep that kind of on the back burner here too while we talk. So yeah, let's get to it. So indices, actually before I even go there, I wanted to talk about something. I wanted to talk about global liquidity and where I think we are right now in the market since it took such a shit. And then we'll also talk a little bit about the Japanese carry trade for anybody who doesn't understand. It essentially involves borrowing against the yen at what at one point was actually they would pay you. They would pay you for the loan essentially against the yen before it went positive again. And so what happened in Japan is they started raising rates aggressively here recently, and and people had to unwind from this trade because before it was costing them nothing to be able to borrow against it and, let's say, buy companies like NVIDIA and YOLO in and kind of use it as a form of leverage or margin almost. And so a lot of people have been doing this trade. This trade's been going on for over 30 years. So this isn't a new process. This has been around for a long time. But with recent moves from the Japanese Fed and then also from our Fed not raising rates and then getting unemployment data that was weak, it just was ultimate fear. And then I think it didn't help at all having Warren Buffett. Oh, hey, it looks like Palantir's up almost 2% in after hours. This is a good sign. It's a good sign for Palantir. It's a good sign for markets. But yeah, so I think Warren Buffett selling out of 50% of Apple didn't help things over the weekend too. Plus, we have the craziness in Venezuela. Now we have Bangladesh having their government overthrown and people persecuting Hindus and people that aren't Muslim. And then you have Iran threatening to attack and retaliate against Israel, up 3% on Palantir and after hours. So you just there's a lot of variables right now that are kicking off, and the Iran-Israel conflict threat it's supposed to happen before Wednesday per Iran. I've never seen an opponent where it's like, we're totally gonna fucking attack you in the next 48 hours. Be ready for it. Actually, you know what? We're gonna extend it. Maybe it's till Wednesday now. I think it's just theater. So I'm less worried about that. Oh my God, Palantir's going up. Oh shit, yeah. Congrats to Palantir holders. Up 12% in after hours. 12%. That's fucking sweet. Big beat on Palantir. Let's take a look real quick here. I'm going to hop over. I want to see what is going on Palantir. It's been a crazy day. I'm pretty sure we're living in the Matrix. I'm watching Trump in a Cybertruck. Got Palantir going ape shit. Let's see though. Is it going to take a massive dive afterwards? Let's see. Let's see what people have to say about Palantir earnings here, since I don't have that pulled up right now. Palantir is accelerating while expanding margins in a crappy SaaS environment. Okay. There we go. Revenue beat 750 million, expectation 650, adjusted income from operations 225 versus 212. So they got a double beat. Sweet. That's awesome. That's really cool. So again, but I think the gist is one of the things you need to understand right now, and I'm just going to pull this image up, is that global liquidity is expanding. Just the M2 global liquidity, not even the stuff that we're talking about with cross-border capital and Michael Howell. We're seeing expansion at a time where we're seeing a divergence in the markets. This is with Bitcoin, but I mean the whole market just rolled over, right? So now that we're starting to see global liquidity expanding, let me refresh the screen here. Wow, now we're up 15% for Palantir. Woof. Congrats. That is wicked. I was going to say the chart was looking more bullish here today from a really good, they went from, I was saying before the technicals look bad, but they went from over 24 all the way down to 20 and change and back up to 24 again. And now look at this, $27, $28 a share. That's definitely going to break some trends. So congrats to everybody holding Palantir. Let me see here. Solana was a great dip buy today. Cody said, Matthew Ting, don't think it's out. It's coming. Disease Kodak, Tesla and CLSK as well. Laughing my ass off. We should see how other things are doing. Wow, 17%. Holy shit. After this day today, now I'm wishing I would have bought Palantir. It was at 20 and now it's at 28. That's insane. That's great though. That's great. It just gives me more hope for the markets as a whole. Do the Iran versus Israel tensions mean Palantir goes up? I don't think so. I think it's fundamentally driven, but maybe it's getting people excited too, and they're going to start speaking more to that narrative. That's very possible. Let me go back though. I want to talk more about liquidity and my thoughts on it. I like this post from Thomas from earlier today. He said, global liquidity shoots higher as risk asset markets crater. He said, global monetary liquidity saw a big increase in the past 7 days, more than 1.5%. The year-over-year percentage change chart now has a strong upward trajectory and currently sits at roughly 4%, not far off its highest levels since April of 2022. One of the things I like that he says in here, so he says that basically the issues that we're experiencing today appear to be the yen carry trade unwinding, fears of a U.S. recession, again, like jobs data that people didn't like from last week, fears of a broadening conflict in the Middle East. I agree with all three of these. I think this is exactly what's happening right now. Even though today we got really good manufacturing and services data out of the ISM, pretty much all of it looked great. It was all an expansion. It was all better than expected. We'll look at that in a second. But I do agree that that is the scenario that's pulling us down. He also says something along here like the equivalent of the markets right now are like a beach ball being pushed underwater, and that it wants to go up, but it's getting pulled down. I also agree, I mean, pretty heavily with that assessment as well. We've got a lot of stuff to go over though, so we're gonna have to rock and roll. Let me get over here. So we're gonna look at a couple of indices. So again, the market as a whole just got destroyed across the board. If we look at the S&P, you can see that we actually ended up closing. Oh, it looks like it changed right at the last minute. So if we zoom in here, I'm just gonna really move this up. We actually ended up closing right above the .fib extension. So we're there, but we also, if you look here, this is what sucks. But again, we saw this on Palantir, and it didn't amount to anything, right? That's going up, doing really well, up 17.5% as I'm speaking. But you see how we have this move upward, but we have this divergence on the RSI pulling us down, and also too on the MACD. Now, will that continue to pull us down? It does not have to. None of these things ever have to happen. Again, Palantir is probably a good example of that. But we did close above the fib. That's a bonus. At the same time, it looks like we probably still could have days of getting pulled down. And I say that too in regard to the post I was just looking at, where we're talking about what's happening in the Middle East. Again, if Iran is going to attack between now and Wednesday, then we have that threat still looming over us as well, which maybe could be, along with a bunch of other things, just keep the market down for a few days. But let's keep rocking and rolling. Let's look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ bounced off the 200 on the daily, this orange one. That's a good sign. I would have liked to have seen it close up closer to the .618, or at least get above these peak volumes. So it just makes me worry that we might try and roll over again more tomorrow. Now, looking at the Russell today down 3.33%. If you look here too, it's the same kind of thing. You can see how these levels are so represented and supported, and now we have this big gap that's formed in here too. But if we look, this is on the weekly right here. You can see that we're just above that first fib level on the Russell too. Now let's look at the dollar. What happened with the dollar today with everything that's going on? It actually started to break down, and it looks like it's garnering support over what used to be resistance. So, and if we draw this line, we can almost draw this line a little bit differently right now and pull it down. But what we're looking at is to try and maintain this as a level of support and go higher. So hopefully with the dollar, it might chop down here for a while. It looks like what it's doing is creating a flag that might look to push an upward momentum, and or it could chop down here for a while, which is good. This is actually good. This is good for companies like Tesla to have a weaker dollar right now with the business that they're doing overseas. The interesting thing to point out, though, is that if we're looking at the yen or the Chinese yuan, again, they've both gained strength. They've gained strength and gotten stronger here. So in the pain and suffering that the markets are receiving here, they're actually starting to get a little bit further away from like the Japanese yen. It was at the 162 level, the highest level it had seen since 1986. So it's good to see it backing off. The Chinese yuan, same kind of thing. I do still argue that this is an ascending triangle and that it's going to want to break out. We'll see if I end up being right about that. Let's look at the 2-year bond, and then we'll give more thoughts. I was right about this. We are breaking down out of the 2-year, and it's happening pretty fast. I just didn't think that we would have the market falling apart at the same time. Maybe I should have. MB, Jesse said, it would be amazing if you could finally review Deere & Co. Puts paying off now, obviously, but I was bearish already a couple of weeks ago. Would love your opinion. Yeah, I can try and take a look at it here near the end, man. I will definitely put it at the top of the list since I've missed it a few times. All right, 1 second here. Let me just look. So the 2-year rolling over, the inversion. So we almost had the 2-year, 10-year uninvert today for a period of time. It actually went positive. Didn't close the day that way, though, and started to roll back down. So this might actually indicate that we were close, but no cigar, and that we haven't fully inverted yet. And so that signal, another signal of a recession indicator, hasn't kicked in quite yet. Let's see, the move index. So again, this thing spiked up pretty hard. Not what we wanted to see at all. Showing increased bond volatility. It shows that people are scared. We'd like to see this break down. We'll see if that happens in the coming days. Again, just some of the things that I'm looking at from these major indices. They look like a bottoming pattern, but we've dropped so hard in the last several days. What we need to figure out is whether or not there's any secondary impacts with this carry trade unwinding. And then also, on top of that, we need to see what's happening with Israel and Iran. And we need some of the fears, some of the imminent fears of collapse and utter destruction to disappear. I do love seeing Palantir up in after hours, though. I hope we can continue to see more of that. Hopefully that'll help markets tomorrow morning. And let me see real quickly if we've gotten this updated within visual stocks. Nope, still Q1. So we'll come back to that in a second and see if it's working here. All right, I'm going to hop out of this. So again, the thing I want to point out here is just that we're at the part of the global liquidity cycle where we're looking to ramp up. Even just looking at M2, that's what it looks like it wants to do, even though we're seeing this divergence. Now, if you look here, though, actually, maybe I'll go back over here. If you look at global monetary liquidity, now one thing you'll notice is that the S&P and some of these other indices actually climbed pretty good at a time where, if you look right over here, in 2023, liquidity had kind of softened, at least just in regard to M2, and dropped down, and yet the S&P was still grinding higher. So one could argue that what we're doing is just kind of recalibrating and coming back to a new balance. And K. Kim had a good point. He said, guys, Ponzi leeches are completely freaking out today, exiting in panic. That's what they get for being a psychopath. Some lunatics were buying the dip right on this support this morning, though. I was one of them. And here's the deal. This is scary. This is scary because this is the QQQ. So if this is a 1.5 year long trend line, if it breaks, again, we could test down into this range and suffer for days, weeks, even potentially months. So I just want people to be clear on that. It might not be over yet. I did want to show something else, though. Chicken Genius posted this too. It just shows, again, this is the thing I was talking to earlier, the divergence between what Bitcoin has been doing in the S&P and really a lot of other things recently in M2 liquidity. And he was saying he follows 10 different leading indicators that are all pointing to us going higher. And I agree with that. But again, this Japanese carry trade is one of those black swan type events where we just need to see what its impact is. Now the VIX earlier was down, had dropped like 50% from where it was. I don't know if it's still there though right now. It looked like it was starting to build up in strength near the end of the day. Let's just see what we're at. And I'm going to skip the SVIX. Yeah, so it did start to climb up a little bit. So again, we're sitting at very high levels. Now this is on the 3-month. If I jump back here to even just I should probably look at the weekly. It's hard to visually see, but I'm going to look at it anyway. So you can see that the level we're at is not one we stay at for long. So even going back over here, you can see that when we were crashing in 2020, about March, April, or whatever, we were near these levels. We've shot all the way up to the levels that we were at right when the markets were getting ready to roll over and collapse. We're getting ready to roll over and start going back up again after peak pandemic fears. And then the market started to get better throughout. So this massive spike, again, maybe we could hang out in this range for a week, but the likelihood that it starts to roll over and starts to go sideways and the markets start to recover is pretty high. Because when you go back to this thing, even if you go back to 2008, we already hit, basically on the weekly time frame, one of the highest top 5 weeks for fear going back to 2008. So that's a huge time frame. Now we're at 18% on Palantir. So the market is definitely loving what they're seeing here. So again, hopefully this means something heading into next week. All right. Let me get back over here real quick. And again, I wanted to point out the Fear and Greed Index. There's a few sites like Macro Micro, not to be mistaken with me, that actually show you longer time frames for this. I did point out earlier that we are at a fear level that is so low that we haven't seen it since, over a year and a half ago. Or I'm sorry, yeah, almost 2 years ago. So, and if you go back here again, just this only goes back about 3 or 4 years, but you could see that this is a level that we don't stay at for long either. It can stay here for weeks, but it's usually not much longer than that. So I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out since there was a little more historical information. This has changed probably a bunch of times. The CME Fed Watch tool had us at 92.5% at a 50 basis cut this morning, and then a 7.5% chance at 75. But that since has changed significantly. If I look over here, I think right now it's at like 85% chance of 2 cuts. But no more than that. So it's changed a lot just today. It's almost like a shit coin. It's moving around so much. Now the fear and greed, again, sitting at 19 at close, extreme fear zone. In crypto, we're not quite there, but man, by tomorrow morning, we totally could be. This thing seems to lag a little bit and be delayed and seems to close a lot higher than it used 2 years ago. But again, the market is in an extreme fear territory right now. Now, I did want to talk real quickly again with some of the ISM data that came out today was quite good. So if we look at the global composite, again, this number is not a bad number. When you look at the last 5 years of data, we're still sitting at one of the highest numbers we've seen in the last several years for the United States composite for the PMI. So this does not look bad at all. Let me see. MB, Jesse, ISM data was very positive. Is this what stopped the dump? Yes, I think so. Yeah, the timing wise, it was almost perfectly. I mean, if you looked, there was already a bounce that was happening, but once the ISM data really came out, then it stopped the dump in a heartbeat. So yeah, let's look at global services PMI here too. So again, 55, definitely expansion territory. Same kind of thing where it goes back several years, and it's one of the highest levels. ISM services, non-global, again, had a nice uptick from what we saw in the last read in June, where we were in contraction territory. Instead, we're back in expansion again. So again, all this data kind of looked the same. And one of the things to point out is like, look at 2008 and the pain that we suffered. It really, from an ISM PMI standpoint, it started in like late 2005, and then it kind of, it kind of blew off 3 years later at the end of 2008. So right now, if we look over here, we've been diving, and again, this is kind of artificial because of these huge swings, but we've been diving arguably since about June of 2021, which again is about 3 years ago. Versus the 3 that we had over here. So these time frames, albeit not as deep, we've kind of been grinding sideways here and establishing a pattern where it looks like it's getting a little bit stronger over time. And the same thing, again, business activity looked good, employment looked good, new orders, prices were higher than expected, but not by a crazy margin. So again, all this data, it didn't look that bad. And I think this is what saved us from a deeper drop today. Now, commodities have been butchered. If you look here, especially over the last month, natural gas, propane, like look at natural gas. Look at the prices for natural gas. If we go back over all time frames here, look at the levels we're at. These are some of the lowest levels we've seen since the pandemic, and before that, 2016 for a brief period of time, and then back in 2012. So commodity prices for energy are just falling through the floor. And again, today, gold didn't have any love, down 1.5%. Silver down almost 5%. Just everything getting hit today in regard to, energy and all these other commodities that people invest in. It was just a lose-lose today with this carry trade. It just, everything got obliterated across the board. Let me see. Is there a reason you prefer out of the money over in the money leaps a greater return? But with that greater return becomes greater risk. So in the money would have been better over the short term. I've seen your options videos, extremely helpful. Already own 330 and 300 2026s for Tesla, considering in the monies as well before we pop off. So again, in the money will just reduce the risk that you don't meet the target within the specified time frame, and really you need to get above it. So if you're doing that, it's going to increase your odds that it happens, but you're going to be getting a lower multiple. And but honestly, man, it's being a little safe and cautious right now probably is warranted. So that's probably not a bad idea. Matthew Ting, thanks, Cody, and good to see it doing great again. I didn't sell a share, but others in this few horrible days. Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff dropping. I haven't sold a damn thing, and I don't plan on doing it. But I'm also doing this under the assumption that we can go lower, and that might just happen. Let's see if there's anything else from the economy standpoint. I don't think so. And again, I posted this earlier, just saying that it's an ugly ass day. It's not Black Monday. You can't really call it that. Started out kind of like it could head that way, but it got better. But I'm just hoping that we've seen all the unwind, and I just apologized on here because, again, the Japanese carry trade has been something that's been going on for 30 years. When is it going to fall apart? There's going to be people that said they knew it was coming, but those same people, like, did they make any money in 2023? Did they make 700%? I don't know. It's hindsight's always 2020. There's always people that could have been saying the Japanese carry trade was going to fall apart for 10 years, and then they get a half a week where it's just a brutal thing, and they start celebrating, only to have it maybe get resolved. You got to think that the Fed and the Japanese central bank are probably trying to work through some of these concerns right now. So I don't know. They probably shouldn't celebrate too soon. But again, this is why it's smart to pay attention to people like Jeff Bezos selling tons of their own shares, and Warren Buffett and Mark Zuckerberg and everybody. Like, all these rich people were deleveraging at times where we were leveraging up more, right? So and we ignored it. I know I did. Or at least I didn't give it as heavy of a weight as I should have. I am happy, though. I did a couple of things right? I made money off of Tesla, a lot of money. I made almost 350, I think 400,000 still in gains that I'm holding from that. That helped me out immensely. I wish I would have put all that in TMF. I only put a little over 100,000 in TMF, and TMF did well. And that helped lessen the pain a little bit. So you kind of live and you learn, but hindsight is, again, always 2020. I wish I would have had more cash. I wish I would have taken all those Tesla gains, or even half of it, and just dumped it into cash and sat on it. But woulda, coulda, shoulda. It doesn't really matter now. All we can do is just kind of learn from it. But I did want to apologize because I'm trying to be a good steward and provide input in a chaotic world. And I thought I knew the path forward, and I was too arrogant, and I did not. Palantir info is up. Oh, let me check it out. Let's see how we did over here on visual stocks. Yeah, see, that just looks beautiful. Again, this is just such a beautiful, we look at yearly too. This is ridiculous. Palantir has really found their footing in the last several years. Net income was still 105 million. Forward PE is arguably still high at 78. That's pretty freaking high. But as long as they keep beating and exceeding expectations, this premium can run. So if they can just keep pulling this off, even though I could see some people that do really well on Palantir and maybe they own a lot of it, maybe selling a little bit tomorrow in open and then trying to purchase other things just to see how well they can do. Doesn't look like everything loaded here. We didn't get revenue per top 20 client. Some of these are probably like secondary data points that take a little bit longer to grab. Revenue segments. Again, nice growth under government. I wonder how much more of that we're going to see with how crazy the world is right now. I'm not sure operating leverage looks right. There's a few data points in here that probably still need to be fully updated. Probably should take note, though, that insider shares are being sold. So again, just like the Jeff Bezos and the Warren Buffetts and Mark Zuckerbergs, it looks like we're getting some selling here. I'll have to take a look at that and see who's selling. But we are seeing some people take some profits. And can you blame them? Palantir's done really great as a stock. So it kind of makes sense that they would look to diversify some of that. All right, let me see what else, if anything, we want to go. I think I'm going to jump over. We did all this stuff. So we're going to jump over to Bitcoin real quick and look at it. I will go ahead and pull up the price while we're doing that. And Bitcoin is in a falling, broadening wedge. And again, not so much here. This is more like almost a flag or kind of a flattish pattern. But we did bounce pretty good off of the recent bottom. My fear is that we could just go lower. Again, there's so much volatility is so strong right now. I don't think it would be crazy to see just a couple trips like just grinding around in this zone with a lot of things, all of these different indices, just trying to figure out price action and where we're headed next. So I don't know if we're just going to shoot back up tomorrow or not. Maybe we get more good data. Maybe the Fed does something. I don't think there's going to be any kind of emergency cut. I don't think the Fed gives a shit. I think they like some of the work they're making the bond market do to readjust rates without them having to cut anything. It gives them more ammo for later. I don't know. I don't know totally what the plan is. I would think it's to not break Japan. I would think that the plan is to not break the Japanese yen. That's got to be in there somewhere. Now, whether they're doing that more covertly, trying to make sure that that's okay, or whether they do something more publicly, like an emergency rate cut, I think they're going to be probably more private with it than anything. Let me see. C-list, do you still think Palantir will still roll over? I mean, dude, the technicals look like it should. The fundamentals say that it shouldn't. This was another great earnings. They totally could, though. I mean, again, the PE ratio is 78. You could make the argument that the valuation is too high, but maybe it isn't when you start to factor in the concerns of war right now, because they are so great. So this, again, massive divergence where this thing's trying to go up, right? But then when we're looking over here, we're not doing a good job getting up. But I don't know. It could still totally roll over. It touched the 200 moving average today. So it did get pretty sketchy. But I can't argue with the fact that look at what it's done since. Like, let me just see. Look at this. This is what it's done. You can't quite see it here, but this is pretty fucking beautiful. So I don't know what it's going to do next, man. I don't know what it's going to do next. Again, if we have war, maybe the narrative becomes earlier than I expected for people to start beating the Palantir war drums on that being a primary part of the investment. Maybe that's happening. I don't know. Emergency cut would show weakness. I agree, Tom. It would show weakness, and they don't want to do that. They want to be able to they want to be able to go, yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that sucks for your stocks, but we've got it under control. Don't worry about it. We're addressing everything. There's not going to be issues with banks. There's not going to be issues with currencies falling apart from our buddies. I think that's the more likely approach, but it might take a few days to feel better about it. C-list, it could become a battle of the chartists versus old school investors. Yeah, and again, yeah, it could go either way. I can't say anything about Palantir. I really can't. It could go either way. The chart's saying that it should come down, but if we have war in front of us, or if they keep outperforming, it could stay up for a while. HIMS looked like they had a rough earnings. Oh, is HIMS falling apart? Here, let's take a look at that real quick, and then we're going to move on and talk more Bitcoin and Tesla. And I want to talk about fundamentals too, because I know it's so easy to get caught up in the market and the chaos of today. But at the same time, yeah, wow, they did. So these guys bounced pretty good. They got above the 100 moving average earlier in the day before earnings. So that's a nice looking technical bounce. But now they're down here. So if anything, this is looking like a left shoulder, a head, and then maybe we're going to develop another, I don't know. It doesn't, there's a few charts like this that just don't look good on the trends. It would be ideal to see these things chill out for a while and just kind of stay range bound and maybe trade down, or get a strong bounce for whatever reason heading into tomorrow or the next day. Just something by the end of the week where it looks strong and it looks like it's ready to go higher. I don't know if we're seeing that right now, but it would be good for a lot of charts and indices for that to happen. Otherwise, maybe we have months and quarters of pain ahead. I would love for that not to be true. But I do want to focus on the long term. So we're going to jump around here. So Vivek posted this. It says, are you paying attention? And he's saying we're here at the bear trap stage where people, right now he's saying the NUPL, I can't remember what, something unrealized profit loss heat map. it's basically got us in between, probably down into optimism today after he posted, because he posted this 10 hours ago. So it's at a low point. It's at a low point. It's not at euphoria in any means, and we still have the rest of this leg run. And so I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Earnings just aren't that bad across all these companies. Employment just isn't that bad yet. It's not. I mean, I know employment rose up, guys, but I remember when I was younger and 4% unemployment was like full utilization. They considered like 4% to be like, especially when you got into the threes, that was like full employment. Like everybody was employed at that level. We didn't know it could just keep going lower. So some of these other charts, MicroStrategy, these were from earlier in the day and they look good. I don't know if they're going to stay that way. But again, Bitcoin Munger, just kind of putting things in perspective here, showing trend-based fib extensions for cycles and where they were. Or actually, maybe it's just got, yeah, maybe it's just a retracement. And he's just lining up the retracement and then kind of showing you where the consolidation zones were for each cycle. And admittedly, this one's been longer, but it's still right within that normal consolidation range. So I thought that was a cool chart to look at. Is just, again, this consolidation between like the blue and the gray that you could see over here, that you could see over here, and you could barely see over here. My buddy Income Sharks, he's pretty conservative and pretty wise most of the time. He said Bitcoin lower green line acting as life support, but closing and holding above this once again shows there is still demand. You have to squint now to make these squiggles work, but I'm not ready to remove them. 80K is still on the table. Elections can still bring insane price action. Now, this is the thing I want to point out with my buddy Income Sharks, is he was telling you we could drop down here. He was telling you that it could roll over and we could still hit here, and that we would be fine and that we would still probably look to go back into this channel and trade higher. I've got to side with that, guys. I've been in this game for, God, how long is it now? 7 years? 7 years. Is that real? Yeah, that's real. So 7 years I've been doing this in regard to crypto and the Bitcoin cycles. And I can tell you that this kind of crazy, making people question whether or not it's real, making people question whether or not it's over, happens both in the bear market and the bull market. And it will cause people to sell out early in both circumstances. So it's just fear, right? It's that the world is falling apart. And from my experience, and again, looking at RSIs on the daily time frame, we've already seen really low levels. On the weekly, we're getting closer to bottoms in a lot of these different things across indices and stocks. And when that usually happens, we're usually going a lot higher. So I just want to be very clear. Also, this one right here from Sonny Decree, he's old school, good dude. He used to pitch BitConnect back in the day. But he straightened up big time and became a very serious person. He's a good dude. He lives in Germany, I believe, but he showed the BTC supply held by entities with balance of 100 to 1,000 Bitcoin. Look at what they're doing in this orange color here. They are buying the fuck out of all of this while everybody's running away, and they've been doing that for most of the year. The stack. And some of this, again, this right here, let me just show this real quick. This right here, that's ETFs, right? You could definitely see the ETF pump, and then you can see sideways trending. But look at this. Since like June, look at this growth. And this is, again, some of this is ETFs, some of this is just big wallets, but all of them have the same idea: buy more. So remember this. Remember that the big guys, the ETFs and the whales, are buying Bitcoin. Also, Marty Party, he was pointing out that all longs have been flushed out, like everything, and how we're looking at shorts now, and I think that's what's going to happen in the time frame ahead. We already looked at that one, and again, I just wanted to post this. It says global markets are crashing. We know what's coming. The money printer. And that is what's happening, guys. We will see that again. I also want to point out Benjamin Cohen. I didn't think that he was going to be right about Bitcoin dominance starting to creep higher. I didn't think he was going to be right about alts and Bitcoin dropping here recently. He was spot on with all these things. He's not always perfect, but he's very humble, and he's a smart dude. And again, like he pointed to the pain and suffering. So you guys should check him out. He's got a YouTube channel too. Great dude. Goes into the weeds if you like that kind of thing. He's definitely worth spending some time with. But I think I don't know. I want to point out my own mistakes, and I want to point out great people to listen to when they come up, so that you guys know. Again, this is Quentin. He said there's 900 trillion of wealth in the world. Bitcoin is only around 1 trillion of it. It's like this. It's this, guys. So all this money, all this debt issuance that we call assets, but are really, debt with these bonds, all of these things. Actually, most of this is associated with debt, right? But all of these things can lose a small percent towards Bitcoin, and it will make it go up like crazy. And that's one of the things I want to make sure you understand. And talking about whales, if you look here, Mr. 100 has just been buying aggressively. This said 1100 BTC today. I wouldn't be surprised to know that that's actually higher now. Quentin also posted a great chart showing that the adoption of Bitcoin is faster than that of the internet. And it's not gonna stop, guys. We're still gonna keep going up. Some of the returns might lower a little bit, but we're still going up. And I wanted to show too that Nayib Bukele from El Salvador believes that the money printer in the United States is getting ready to go burr too. Okay, so you got world leaders that feel this same way. And then we have China's M2. Thomas was posting this on the 3rd. Again, this was when I was on vacation, so I'm trying to cover a bunch of this stuff to give you guys some hope. This is showing the M2 supply for China and liquidity injections, and you can see this massive spike that's occurred over there recently too. So you're going to see the Fed becoming more serious about maybe easing on their balance sheet, and then you're going to see at the same time the talk of rates coming down in September, and I think 50 bips is probably pretty decently likely. And then you're going to see liquidity expanding across countries all around the world, including the number 2 economy, and what they're desperate to get this number up just to survive. So I do think that we're reaching, I don't know, I'm becoming more worried about a soft landing, starting to think it'll be hard, but I do think that we're reaching a point where we're going to see massive amounts of liquidity coming into markets all around the world, and mainly in the United States and China, and that's going to be a lot. That's going to support them a lot, and it's going to make the numbers go up a lot. Now, I wanted to point out here too, Tour de Meester, old school legend from Blockstream, he said that Bitcoin's doing just fine. Don't get distracted, and he showed how Bitcoin is doing in regard to CRB index, and I don't know the CRB index very well, but he's essentially saying, hey guys, if you look at these connection points, and they do line up beautifully, that where previous resistance or previous resistance turns into new levels of support, and then he's showing over here that these levels right here are starting to coincide, and they look like they're lining up with support zones too. So and again, stock money lizards. There's a ton of different ways to look at this stuff. Cycle bottom, having correction, and just lining our timeline up with what we're seeing across markets, and all of them look positive, and all of it looks normal. All right, let me see here. MB says crowd is up 2% today. Good. That's awesome to hear. I mean, it got totally butchered. It was down like over 50%, so it's not too shocking to see some people maybe trying to rotate money around to see if they can find a bounce somewhere. Matt Nintendo, do you see any issue in buying IBIT, for example, instead of actual Bitcoin? I mean, there's always the potential for an issue. Owning actual Bitcoin means that if the world gets totally fucking crazy and you need to move your money or go somewhere in a hurry to a different country, you can do it, right? But if you have it on a regulated U.S. exchange and weird shit gets weird, then maybe you can't do it. So that's the bet. So that's why it's good to have some physical Bitcoin all the time, to make sure that you're able to address that. There's Thomas again saying the printers are going to go burr, showing the unemployment rate, and basically how M2 is starting to expand. When you look at this, this is percentage change from a year ago. You can see how we started to shift into positive M2 money expansion with the unemployment rate dropping. All right, just a couple more here things with Bitcoin, and then we're going to move on to Tesla. It says, do you finally understand this meme? If you're new to markets or you just haven't been in them a long time, guys, this how people think it's like to hodl and how it actually is so true. It's almost true to everything in life, right? You have this expectation of like, I'm going to do this thing and it's going to be fucking great. And then you realize how hard it is to do the thing and the days that you don't want to do the thing and the problems that come up along the way. And eventually, if you can hold on, especially in the investment world, to high investment grade assets like Bitcoin, Teslas, and Palantirs, and others that are solid companies that are going to do well over the long term, and you allow yourself enough time for that to work out, you get to a finish line and you feel hella good when you get there. And I can speak to it personally, like the day I retired and everything that's happened since. So it's not easy. It's not going to be easy, guys. You have to realize this. Dennis Porter posted something from Balaji. He said, I don't believe we shall ever have a good money again before we take the thing out of the hands of the government. Oh, I'm sorry. This is a quote from Nobel laureate Friedrich Hayek. And he says, I don't like I said, he says that basically the government can't have control of the money, and we can't take it violently. All we can do is by some sly roundabout way introduce something that they can't stop. And I would say that that's definitely Bitcoin. All right, let's move on here real quick. I want to get over to Tesla and just talk about all the craziness going on with Tesla. I still wish I've got FSD4 with my Cybertruck, but it hasn't been released as the Cybertruck yet. But there are so many positive things. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've never been a fan of Donald Trump's dancing, but he's standing in front of a Cybertruck and he listened to the stereo system and said that he liked it and it sounded great. Just a lot of stuff. Let's see here. Look at that. I don't know if this is going to help him get votes, but that kid did have like 500,000 or 1 million views already on this this video thing that he did with Trump, and the Cybertruck is getting free press. And again, just like looking at the stereo system, checking out the stereos.
Oh, we're good. All right.
And Trump was saying that he liked it. This is all just free. We have the former president of the United States sitting inside of a Cybertruck, and tons of people hearing how cool it is. Also, not even just that, we have
you've had the Cybertruck.
Tucker Carlson who asked for a free Cybertruck to be able to do some testing with it and got it. And he made this video. This is just a 30-second clip here real quick from Jeff talking. And this guy talks about the Cybertruck and how it's pretty great for the price so far. And then they have a much longer video. But this is, again, somebody with millions and millions of followers who is talking about the Cybertruck. Whistling Diesel talked about the Cybertruck. I've got something I want to say about that real quick. Let me go to that real fast, and then well, actually, before we get to that, we got a few things to talk. So Elon Musk and the Tesla AI team are magicians, is what Omar Holmar's catalog says. He says, that's the only conclusion I can draw after driving FSD 12.5.11 this weekend. It doesn't matter who the magician is voting for when they show you real magic. I love that. So every video I've watched of 12.5.11 is fucking amazing. And even people that are very critical about Tesla's FSD say that it's doing great. On top of that, yeah, see, here's the Trump car, or the Trump Cybertruck. Look at that. That's just huge. Hugely beneficial. Forget that. 100 billion in revenue. Oh, yeah, look at this. Look at this real quick. Look at this. So again, this is a Koenig, $2.5 million Ajira racing a Cybertruck, and the Cybertruck almost wins. Look at this.
And wait for it, and go. Track him down. Let's go. Oh, just barely. Let's go. Oh no! No! Oh! Woo!
So that supercar cost 24 of those Cybertrucks. So I just want you to be clear For people that really want an excellent performing, fast, powerful, crazy vehicle, the Cybertruck is that. I know it looks obscene and that some people struggle with that, but it's an amazing vehicle, and more and more people are starting to realize that. I get more positive input from people than I did before. And look at this real quick here. So Holmars was talking about all the things that are happening with FSD over the short term in the next month from what we're seeing right now. Hands-free 12.5 rolling out. No more constantly holding on to the thing. 12 or hardware 3 getting 12.5. The Cybertruck getting 12.5. I'm probably going to make videos from my Cybertruck if nobody else. If Omar doesn't get to it before I do, I'm going to make some fucking videos because I love driving the thing around anyway, and I want to see how it does. The highway stack is going to be integrated with the existing local city, neural network. ASS or ASS, Actual Smart Summon. I love that they named it ASS. Is going to be out, and I love the fact that they mock that the other version wasn't actually smart. Banish, where you can basically tell the vehicle to go away, and reverse. All of these things are coming soon. This is fucking insane. This is insane, and people aren't pricing this in right now. Whistle and Diesel. So there's some good and bad press with this. So one thing that he did was, and I actually like watching Whistle and Diesel, but he was being a dick in this. So one thing they did is right here. They drop the Cybertruck off this like 6 foot high cylindrical cement block onto another one that is like a perfect 45-degree angle, 2 foot thick as shit block. And watch what happens. They drop it on the back and it smacks the back tail hitch. This later on, when these guys get stuck, they go over it. Oh, I don't want to get copyrighted there. You can see the back of this gets tore out because they try and tow the F-150 out of that after they damaged the fucking vehicle on the back hitch. And then he acted like it was a big deal that the hitch was broken, even though the Ford F-150 didn't actually even make it to the test. So kind of some bullshit. But, again, he is literally, like he said, he's whistling diesel, right? So he loves his diesel vehicles, and he loves tearing shit apart. And so that's what he does. And again, you can see this hitting against that edge. There's just no way. It's like probably 6x the pressure that it could take hitting up against it. Let me see. I wanted to see if I could find the other one from him real quick. There's so many other things. I don't know if it's here. So we'll skip it. But again, I want to reiterate the fact that Tesla is an amazing company. Tesla has massive amounts of self-driving miles coming up right now. And they're the number one car from safety. The number one selling vehicle in the world is a Model Y. And then at the same time, while all these other EV makers are running away, and this is a great video, by the way, Tesla's massive breakthrough, just talking about the 4680 cells. I listened to this one on my road trip back home just a day or two ago, and it was really good. But there's so many things that Tesla is firing on in regard to energy and their cells and optimizing vehicles and making as much money as they possibly can, and like things like this where they're trying to do tax credit deals, low interest rates, offering additional service, things that don't cost them a lot of money that increase sales. There is nobody else that is competing against this company right now. There just isn't. And nobody's even evaluating the robot yet. And then we had, Piper Sandler and just other companies changing their price targets between $300 and $450 a share in the last week. So all I can say is I highly recommend that maybe watch the Tucker Carlson video. Maybe watch this interview with Trump talking about Tesla 2 and saying positive things. Spend more time understanding this company and this stock, and you'll make a lot of money. That's my take. Let's look real quickly at Tesla inventories and see how they're doing. And it looks like Palantir's doing an all right job holding its gains, up 15% in after hours. So we could see Model X and Model S inventories continuing to decline. It looks like Model Y is starting to come down. It looks like Model 3 is increasing, but do we really care so much because they have their new awesome Highland version of this So I'm not really worried about those selling. I think they're going to do quite well. And then when Juniper for the Model Y comes out, I think that's going to do quite well. And if you look at these numbers, these inventory, it's just not going up by any measurable number that really matters. All right, let me see what you guys are saying. I got to get caught up. Oh, a lot of conversation in the chat. C-list right now, it seems like we'll roll over twice more while TradeFi accumulates. Maybe. We can definitely drop more. Again, Thinlay, hey Jesse, Palantir has $4 billion in cash now. They should allocate some of that cash to BTC. I would love to see them do that. I doubt they'll do that. I don't think they'll do it. But yeah, that would be a great idea. And in my opinion, that's something Tesla should be doing right now too. But again, yeah, it's still seen as pretty radical. I think maybe next cycle it won't be seen as radical to allocate large amounts, and maybe this cycle is when companies really start to do it because they realize its value. But I hope they do it. I just doubt it. C-list, dial-up modems made one plan internet usage deliberately, especially in countries without unlimited local calls like U.S. Huh, you guys must have got off on a different conversation. All right, Niles, hey Jesse, did you ever get around to looking more deeply into Clove? Reported their first profitable quarter today, did buybacks last quarter. Thanks. I did not. I've definitely got it on the list, but I have not looked into it. I probably will be here soon. Honestly, I'm just trying to make sure that the world isn't falling apart right now before I look at additional buying opportunities. I've got plenty of asymmetric bets right now. It's just a matter of making sure that things aren't collapsed. Now, Bitcoin, over the short term, it's probably better to buy in an IRA because the cycle for Bitcoin might only be 9 months. It might have an explosive up period because of massive amounts of global liquidity, and then eventually a blow off top with general markets, maybe. Like something like that could happen. So I wouldn't expect that to do really, really well beyond 9 months from now. It could roll over. But Tesla, I think each year that goes by will just keep getting better and going up, and it's already so compressed. Whereas Bitcoin has already had a decent run, right? It's went up, from 15 to the 60s. You can't hate that. So that's a pretty good run. 300%ish runs are not a bad deal. So I would say that out of the two of them, I would probably wait and allocate more towards Tesla and lighter amounts to Bitcoin if you weren't doing like a long-term IRA. And honestly, I would probably still allocate more towards Tesla right now, personally. And that I'm saying that because I have like over $1 million+ in Bitcoin related investments. So I'm sitting really good already too. So you got to realize I'm speaking this through some of my book. Dylan said, let me see here. Curious how you'd allocate knowing what you know. Okay, so I answered that. C-list, no Karens for Trump Zoom calls. Yeah, Trump didn't. Imagine what would happen if Trump had a white men for Trump Zoom call. Can he do that? Can you guys tell me? Can Trump do that? Is that acceptable? But Kamala can do it, even though she's Indian and partially black. Cool. Super cool. Anyway, let's move on. All right, FSD is sick. Dylan says FSD is sick on the highway, but in the city, not so much. Yeah, I think that's actually been changing, man. I love some of the city driving. The highway still has things where it'll do like some phantom, like slowing down, braking around construction zones. The city stack is actually turning way better. You just have to realize it's easier to drive on the highway because you don't have variables of like, let's say cars coming head on at you. Not normally a thing, right? On the highway or the interstate. Also, you have an on-ramp and an exit ramp, right? But that's it. You don't have cross traffic going across you in a highway. There's so many additional variables that have to be calculated in when you're in a regular city that just don't exist on highway driving. That's why they focused on that first, right? Because it was easier. But all of it's getting merged here soon. MB, Tesla Model Y 2025 rumored to feature 95 kilowatt per hour versus the 75 kilowatt hour now. A battery charging at 2x the speed, given 30% drop in LFP battery prices. This would launch margin of Model Y to the upside. Yeah, no, I can see that. I think batteries especially are going to cost Tesla nothing in the future. So for a while, because again, all the regular automakers have run away. This is the perfect storm for Tesla. Unfortunately, as stated above, sold today 99% of my calls Wait, what did you do? All right, let me see. Let me go back here. I got to refresh my screen to get it to where I can see better. What did you say you did? What did you say you did? Oh, did somebody just gift memberships? You guys are awesome. I will get to that in a second. Unfortunately, MB said, unfortunately, as stated above, sold today 99% of my calls and converted into stock out of fear. Under which conditions would you re-leverage? I don't know that I would at this point in the cycle. Honestly, man. Like, you could say now, but again, if you're taking the opposite path, I would maybe just keep it safe, stick with stock. Or if it starts dropping like a ton and you feel like, whoa, it's overextended on the weekly now, this is getting crazy, then maybe dial back in. But I personally wouldn't look to do it right away. If I made a play like that and de-levered myself and it's already started to bounce up from those levels, and let's just look at it real quick here. So Tesla stock, again, it was down at 182 and it closed, and after hours we're at 200. We're above 200. So I would argue that this is actually performing pretty good. And I don't even know if it will go a lot lower. It could if the broader market drags it lower. But it's looking pretty good. It's looking pretty solid. And we have this gap up here to close. So we got some upside potential sitting in front of us. And I highly doubt we're going to 147. I mean, if the market drags us down, we will. But I doubt it. C-list, our robots will be bigger than their robots. They didn't hodl. Tesla. Alex Garcia, is the live down? Alex Garcia, is it just my Wi-Fi? It's probably your Wi-Fi. I think I was good. Oh, did we drop? Did we drop for a little bit? I didn't see it. God, I hope that isn't happening. This is my new fucking good internet. It better not be. It's back. Never mind. Sealess. Nope. My dial-up modem thought it was on my own island, somehow actually related to the easiness of the hodling. Okay, all right. So you guys seem to figure your shit out. RJ Cohen, appreciate you, Jesse. Thank you for the gifted 10 memberships. You guys have gifted 15 memberships between the two of you today. That's awesome. I really appreciate it, guys. Future of Fairmont. Would Tesla ever make a pure hybrid? No. Fuck no. There's no point in that. Sealess. We will have Tesla robots funded by Tesla stock. They shall have Huawei. All right, and Polos Bro, I wish Tesla Europe had half the features of Tesla US. They can't because regulation is so big in Europe, you know? Europe wants to over-regulate markets, and in the process of doing that, they create pain. So Europe will be one of the last places that will have this. It'll be China and the United States that'll have good full self-driving. I dropped for 20 seconds. That's great. Well, hopefully that doesn't happen anymore. Overall thoughts on CLSK for the next 6 to 9 months? I think let's just look at a couple of things here real quick. I'm going to run through the rest of the stocks. We looked at Tesla a little bit. We're testing up against the 200 moving average on Tesla. I think that there's a good chance that we try and get above that. And if we get above it, that's great. It means that we're going to try and make our way to the 230 range. So if there's a stock I'm hopeful about that's bounced well, it's going to be this one. Well, and Palantir obviously did really well. PayPal. I actually didn't hate the trading on PayPal today, guys. It's such a shit stock for so long. But today, I think it held up really well. If we look here, it was down 2.45%, but it's made back 0.61. So it's really down less than 2% in the last 24 hours, which is not bad. It's down about 80% from its highs, and I think it could continue to scream higher. It does want to break out. This stock, you got to remember, this company had great earnings. We found this support here. This is technically resistance, so let's change this to red. We're just grinding in this zone, getting ready to break out. Hood got butchered today. Holy shivets. I should say the week has been rough for Hood, right? Look at these gaps. Holy flip. I don't know, man. If Hood really takes a great hit, I might have to look at this. This is interesting. So again, on the daily, we bounced off the 200 and bounced off of the previous resistance line perfectly, actually. Look at this. That's crazy. Look at how perfectly Hood bounced off of that previous resistance line. If you don't believe in trend lines, look at that shit. Support, resistance, 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 breaking out. Perfect level of support again today, and then also again got above the .786, got above the 200 moving average, and we've got a gap here and a gap here. This is a lot of room for this thing to bounce higher if markets start to turn around. I think Hood has been taken out and shot Went from 24.85 down to 13. A 45% drop in like a week. Shit. Let me see here. Dylan, looks like Sailor may have gotten a hold of that 2 billion. Is he buying? Let's check out Bitcoin real quick. Man's a lunatic. Wouldn't be surprised. Not hating this. Again, this has been a decent bounce off of the 50 on the weekly. This is a decent bounce. I'm not hating it. So we'll see if we keep going up higher and what we can close at tonight. Around 7, I think, is close time. But let's get back over to SoFi. SoFi actually had a great day. Look at this. Another great example. Look at this. So previous levels of resistance turn into support, turn into support, turn into support. SoFi is looking pretty good to me. It's looking bouncy and springy. And the fact that it's only down like 1.5% today says a lot in this market. Square got obliterated again. Maybe Square is actually starting to find its bottom. I don't know. It should have. Let's see. August 1st was earnings. I don't know. It's still... We'll have to see what it does. Maybe we get some trending down here for a while. It definitely should start finding support. I think it's a decent company. The chart, though, again, maybe this is arguably a bottoming pattern, but this has to be the end of it. Otherwise, maybe we could get down sub 50 again. It's possible. It doesn't look as good as SoFi. All right, so let's see. Palantir we already looked at. Palantir is fucking stupid. I wish I would have bought earlier. But whatever. Maybe I'll get an opportunity again in the future. All right, so ARKG, again, 1,300 plus days from its previous all-time high. It was down 2.88% today, but really, it's not that bad. And if we go back here, to me, ARKG looks springy. Look at how much it was down today off of this. And then again, that same kind of thing, turning it into support. Arguably, maybe you draw this line a little bit different. Maybe this one should be down just a hair. So maybe it didn't quite hit it. I don't know. It's close. It's real close. So I probably screwed that one up. Probably should have left it alone. But yeah, so ARKG still looks bouncy to me. I like the price action on ARKG. I don't know if I can add to it. Here's the deal. I need something to start going up so I can start adding to other positions I want to buy. So whatever goes up first and furiously is something I'll probably slowly be selling, especially if I have a lot of it. Let's look at Flux. All right, let me see here. Westman join. C-list, you only dropped once, and I think it was sound only or it was video to others. Hopefully it doesn't happen anymore. This service is my old reliable, so I hope it stays that way. MicroStrategy is also down a lot, but that's obviously like BTC. MicroStrategy, actually, before we get... So Flux actually bounced pretty good today. Up or down 2.95 in the day, but again, this thing was really down. I don't know. I don't care too much about it. DLO got like a lower low, same old shit. MicroStrategy, let's actually jump to that one. This is a hell of a bounce on MicroStrategy, I just got to say. Not only did we perfectly find the 200 moving average down here on the daily time frame, but from the bottom, including after hours, MicroStrategy bounced 29%. So if you had cash, God, I wish I would have had more fucking cash. I should have sold. I cashed in 350,000 in Tesla calls. I wish I would have done like it. I don't know, 600,000-700,000. Hindsight's always 20/20, but I wish I would have unloaded 50% of it and kept a bunch in cash. Bought TMF, bought Palantir. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. But yeah, this is a beautiful bounce for a day. Anybody who got this did really well. Mara. And then we'll take a look at some of these other miners too. Mara actually closed the gap. Wow. So it broke down hard today. I don't know if it did as well as MicroStrategy. Maybe it did actually. Gosh. Not quite as good. 23%-ish, something like that. But it closed the gap in the daily time frame that it created, I think. Let me see here. Yeah, perfectly. So this was showing some bounceability too, guys. Let's see real quickly. Let's pull up CleanSpark, Cypher, and then I'll pull up Bitfarms. I don't know. MicroStrategy looks pretty good. God, one would hope with Nvidia. My worry is I think a lot of people that were playing that Japanese carry trade were also invested in Nvidia and doing their little gambling with the 0-day options. So I don't know. So if we see more rollover from the Japanese yen carry trade, I worry that it's still going to impact companies like that. Now, CleanSpark, on a bright note, we closed a gap. So that gap that we were worried about over here in the 10 range or whatever just got closed. Now, it dropped like a fucking rock in the last week. Again, we were at, what were we at, 18 or something, and we got all the way down to 9. So a 50% drop in a week is just brutal. But we're above the 200. We're above the .5. We got above the 50 moving average on the weekly. So we're above all the major moving averages. That I don't hate that. And it's nice to see us hopefully maintaining that as support in the days ahead. How much did we bounce today on this one? Oh, that's not what I wanted. Sorry. Let me get the right one here with price. So what did this one? It's probably 20-something percent. Oh, another 30% today on CleanSpark. Should have bought fucking CleanSpark. I bought BITX. Let me see how well that did off the bottom. So this is a 2x leverage play for Bitcoin. And as you can see, it did have a decent drop today. Let me see. I'm going to do the 4-hour. Make sure I'm capturing it all. So let's see. Oh, God dang it. I don't know why it's defaulting this. We got a price. Let's see here. BITX. So I did all right. 24%. That ain't bad. All right. So I bought 30K worth. So I take that back. I actually made a 6,500 off of this play. God, I wish I would have had more money. Isn't that the truth? Fuck. All right, BITF. Let's get to that, and then I'll keep looking at chat here too. All right, Bitfarms. Yeah, we'll check out Nvidia here too. CleanSpark, my biggest position. Sorry, Alex. Fuck, man. Days like today are ones where you always wish you had more cash. But then when you have the cash and the market goes up like crazy, you're like, fuck, I wish I had less cash. You're always going to be in a position like that. It's just inevitable, dude. It's just inevitable. You're never going to be perfect at everything all the time. And life doesn't work that way. But it sucks when it doesn't work out well. So I'm sorry, man. And again, I apologized. I'm not perfect. I'm trying to be. But it's hard. All right, 22%. 22% bounce on Bitfarms. Still closed down 8.26 earlier in the day. So this Bitfarms got hit pretty good. What do the rest of our miners look like? I got to see here real quick. This is some interesting data. Where is my... How do I get my watch list? There it is. Okay, let me just look. I'm going to look at my watch list here real quickly and just see what the damage looks like. So, wow. BITX volatility 2x shares changed 29%. This isn't showing everything right now. Let me get miners. Let me do miners instead. 1 second here. Got to do this. Miners. I think I got them all here. And then this. Sorry, I'm having to reacquaint myself with this. So today, MicroStrategy, it looks like took the biggest hit. Still at the end of the day. Marathon actually, again, did all right. So, and Cypher, yeah, all these companies. So it looks like Iron and Wolf, too, these AI plays actually took it a little bit better today than some of these others. Let me click into one real quick. Let's look at Wolf. Go full chart. Yeah, very strong bounce in these. So the AI Bitcoin miner narrative, even though I don't think it's a really strong one, seems to be playing out pretty strong, with a 34% increase in one of these today. So these were even better than the dips in the miners that I hold. All right. Do you care more about the lowest cost? All right, let me see here. I'm just going to catch up with chat. You only dropped one. Okay, that was that. C-List Matt Nintendo, do you care more about lowest cost basis or being underinvested? Is BTC a buy, you reckon, or could it bleed longer? Yeah, that's a good question. So I personally would focus on holding on or buying more right now. I would not be selling Bitcoin right now. I just think that's such a dangerous perspective to be like, oh, maybe I can get a lower price on Bitcoin. Especially like, what are we looking at here? Let's look at the daily. Let's look at the RSI and the MACD and some of these other things. If I can get it to pull up. There we go. All right, so on the weekly, we've still got room to drop, right? But we are at the lowest level we've seen since January of 2023. So again, that's a while ago, a year and a half ago. Could it drop further? Yes, it could. But in halving cycles, I don't think we're going to see that. And on the daily, we're already, at 27. And so this is one of the steepest levels we've seen since August of 2023. So again, it's been down here for a while. We had the big pump up, and then we just rocketed right back down. So I don't know. I think we're going to continue to find more support here. Insane recovery today. Way too much big money in BTC. Insane recovery today. CLIS or let me see here. Let me go back up. I think I missed somebody. I do want to check out NVIDIA. Let's look at chips too. So I want to look at. Oh no, I want to pull up the stock market heat map real quick first. Just look at the bloodiness here again. So you can see a lot of the chip sector took it on the chin. Let's look at NVIDIA's chart. Look at that bounce today. That is not a bad looking bounce at all. This is a great technical level for NVIDIA to go higher, up 12.24%, only down 6.36 today, and then up 1.43% in after hours. This is a very solid looking bounce on something that was definitely overextended. And let's just see, how much did it end up dropping to from peak to trough? Yeah, boy, was that a good dip to buy. Down 35% from its recent high just in June. Just a month and a half, 2 months ago, this thing was much higher than it is today. So those people can make 45-ish% on the upside, just getting to the previous highs. Actually 50%, which is amazing. A Karen's for Trump Zoom call would reveal every adherence of the wokeocracy. It would be a fun laugh. Yeah, it would. Yeah, it would be great. Actually, that would be really funny. Dylan Hastings, way too much big money. Okay, we saw that one. C-list or truck driving white men for Trump Zoom call. Again, good fun. I did vote for Biden last time, by the way. Just hate identity politics. Me too, brother. I think that kind of shit is ridiculous. Like white men for Harris is the dumbest fucking concept. Now, we are seeing a little bit of retracement. Again, this isn't a bad place to retrace. Let me go to the 4-hour on Palantir. This still looks like really strong price action to me, and the ability to break out higher into tomorrow. So we'll see what happens with Palantir. We'll see how much lower it goes in after hours, if it can get down to some of the support zone. But I'd still say it looks bullish, even though I won't be buying. Marty McFly, oh hey, thanks for the free membership. Awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. You guys giving out free memberships is awesome. Michael Myers, thanks RJ. Was a member for a long time, but had to cut back on all subscription Netflix app. Right? You got to save all that money to buy every stock dip you can. So I totally understand that. Alexander, Solana, pretty strong. Let's take a look. I haven't even, you know what? Let's do this real quick. I want to look at the crypto bubble. It was just a shit show earlier, so let's see how it's doing now. So today, actually, wow, the markets have started to come back. They were really getting butchered. If you look at the week, you can see how there's still a decent amount of them that are in the dumps. And the month still looks pretty rough, but interesting, man. You make a good point. We are seeing recovery in the altcoin market and after hours, and it's not just like, let's look at helium here. I mean, that still looks great. Let's look at Sol. Let's actually pull Sol up in our regular chart here. Let me know if you guys have anything else you want to look at. Oh, and Deere. I think you asked for that one. I better. And is this just John Deere you were asking for, man? Is that what it was? Solana actually looks great. I mean, this looks great. Broke down to the 50. Got up above this .5 and are sitting nice and high here. This Solana looks ready to go. I mean, this is a great looking shitcoin. Yep, John Deere. Okay, let's take a look at that real quick here too, since I have not done that, and I don't think I've had it on here before, so I'm just gonna. I think it's Deere, right? I'm pretty sure it's Deere. It's been a long time. Let me just see here, John Deere. Let me just try Deere. Yeah. Okay. All right, and Which one is it? Is it DE? Is it Deere and Co? Solar was briefly the largest position in my portfolio before the drop. DE. Okay, cool. Let me pull it up. Save it. Oof, this is interesting. What was your thought on this? Talk to me, MB. Remind me what you were thinking here. This is interesting. The technical patterns. You're under the 200 moving average now. Wow, huge volume shelves. Look at these volume shelves. 2008, this thing took, how far did it drop? Was this what you were looking, was this a short opportunity that you're looking at as a hedge? 75%. Gosh, that seems like that could happen again if we have a major downturn. Rates dropping, prices dropping, push farmers back on capex. So you think that they'll start buying? That's your thought process here? Let's see, what is this? Is this, that's 2011. This is probably 2020. That's 2020. So we got a 74% during the 2008 great financial crisis. We got a 41% during March of 2020. But we have launched pretty high, 105 to 450. No, farmers would stop. Yeah, okay, that makes, yeah, okay, no, that makes sense. Yeah, no, now I hear I hear what you're saying. I was being retarded. Yeah, dude, I could totally see that. And if you look here, there's a history of this dropping and then finding support on really long bands of previous price action. And like, look here, look at this right here. So you can see where this area was going to be support too. It didn't quite make it to it in March of 2020, but gosh, it would have been a strong area of support right over here in the $90 range. And so now it's looking like it could potentially roll over again if farmers stop paying for equipment. God, I wonder what kind of hedge this could be. I'm gonna look at this more, man, as a hedging opportunity. I don't hate it. It is a steady eddy as far as like a long-term chart. Look, since the 80s, you can kind of draw a line up through here, right? Of just like down the middle price action kind of. But you're right, it's definitely had a really strong uptick here, and maybe could roll over. My 2027 puts are already up 60%. Interesting. Huh. IoT, energy, and food are my industry. Cool. That's good to know, man. C-List, do you have a fridge that texts you to buy milk? God, I fucking love you guys so much. You guys are great. You guys are so great. Oh. Luckily, nope. Now, if it bought your food and then it just came to your door, that would be pretty cool. I want my Optimus robot to do that. I'm a nerd, but not that bad. Yeah, I don't think there's tech to do that yet, man. All right, so let me see. Are there any other charts I've missed here recently, guys, that you guys wanted to cover? I think we're getting some mixed signals as far as where we're headed next. I think we need to prepare for downside. I do think that things like PayPal, SoFi, Palantir crushed it, are holding up really good. Yeah, I could take a look at Open. Are holding up really good. And again, Tesla, I think, is holding up. There's just a number of stocks that have taken this better than others. And we're seeing commodities drop. If the world does not fall apart, if the Japanese yen carry trade does not unravel in the coming days, and we do see quietness between Iran and Israel, or let's say that Iran is blustering and doesn't really do anything of substance, and they just continue with the blustering, and then fire some rockets, 99% of them get shot down, then I think we're going to be okay in the Middle East. Now, if they do something substantive, Israel will lay down hellfire. So shit could get weird. So keep an eye out for that. Otherwise, though, I think that markets can bounce from this, but we can't have geopolitical risks exploding in Japan or in Israel. If that happens, we could see more. And I'm definitely going to take a closer look at Deere. I'm loving that play. So Open Door, I don't know. I'm not really interested in additional long opportunities from my own personal perspective. And let's just look here, if I remember correctly, on how this thing's doing fundamentally. So again, we just had massive drops in revenue at the end of 2022. This could get better. Rates are going to start dropping as long as the market starts to open up and these guys have a financial plan to benefit from that. I really don't know how well they do in the market like this, but if we go back and look at the yearly, you can see how 2020 to 2021 was pretty huge for them, even though, again, it was huge for a lot of people. I don't know if we can expect that same thing as rates come down, but you can see how 2022 got neutered, 2023 sucked, and then they're trying to recover into 2024. So right now, they're not even a profitable company. So personally, I wouldn't be paying a lot of attention to this. I'm more interested in that John Deere one, man. That I'm more interested in good hedging opportunities where I can apply capital. Like again, TMF. You know what? We didn't even look at that. So I sold out all my TMF, the last of it today, and gathered funds. But I do think that I've got it under TNA. I got to rename that. I do think though that TMF can do well. Like maybe it grinds down in the coming days, and it becomes an opportunity to hedge again. And again, it's not as good of a hedge as like the VIX was. The VIX was stupid, but there's also not a lot of people that sold the VIX when it was up 180% today. And now it's only up. I think it ended the day up like 40% on the day. So hopefully people were smart and sold out of their hedges on the VIX, and then were able to dial in and start buying things in the market. But I like the idea of thinking more about hedges like TMF. I like the idea of thinking more about hedges like Deere. Again, that was kind of a beautiful chart MB, or a beautiful company that MB was talking about that has the potential to fall pretty hard. I mean, again, if you look at the levels that this thing could drop before it starts to see actual volume support, from where we're at right now, it's 60% from the top, but even from where we're at right now, it's like a 50% drop. That might be a good hedge. And I've got to look at some of my previous ones like Starbucks and some of these others to see if there's opportunity there, even though I think that one started to roll again too. But I'm looking more at like things like Deere and TMF and other opportunities to be able to hedge. I think that's where our priority and focus should be. I will look at Lemonade though. Though thoughts on him's earnings, I haven't seen them. Let's look though and see if it's posted over here for premium people. And we could probably pull it up on X real quick and see what it is. Okay, so it looks like they do have results. And subscriptions are up, net orders are up, average order value is up, revenue is up. I mean, it looks good from here at a glance without actually digging into it. And the net income was 13.3. I don't know if there's any goofiness in it. Forward PE, though, is 117. So, I mean, these earnings are good. Just at a glance, they're good, and their estimates look good. I think the scary thing here is just, like I've said before, it's the valuation. It's the fact that this thing is still a forward PE of 117. Makes it kind of hard if these guys start to slow down, not to see this get impacted greatly from it. Lemonade, let me see here. All right. Lemonade, ouch. Ouch. This thing's dropped pretty hard too, huh? So we went from 24.80 down to 15. So it's, if I remember correctly though, this thing had, the financials were weird, right? Let me see here. Let's just look. Micron, I can do that. Customers look good. Premium per customer looks good. Enforced premium looks good. Yeah, dude, it's this bullshit. They don't make money. Don't own shit like this. Not in this market. Not in this market. You don't want to be bringing in 105 million in revenue for Q2 and then losing 57 million. You don't want, not in this market, dude. You just can't. You cannot be that way in this market. you'll get absolutely fucking destroyed. So I personally wouldn't be buying any here. That doesn't seem like a good move to me for this company. It just doesn't seem like they have any real value. And what is their P? Yeah. So they've never been profitable. Let's go to the yearly. Look at this. So yeah, they're growing, but if you can't make money, let's just say that growth, they better be Tesla. If they're focusing on growth right now, they better be fucking Tesla. Ooh, this is kind of nice actually with Micron. Ooh, this is interesting. This is interesting. I don't know this company well. I need to look at the financials real quick. And I know it got just crushed because it obviously got overpriced. But look at this. You had a 46% drop from the high. And now you're just underneath the .618, the golden retracement zone. So this looks like it would want to go higher, but what do the financials look like? Let's just look here. And let me see. It's almost 4:30. I'm going to have to wrap it here soon. I promised the kid I would take her to a kids bouncy park thing so she can have some fun. Dynamic RAM revenue. So they've got this pretty well broken down by different revenue types. Revenue's been creeping up. PE is 11.78. That is pretty low. Operating expenses kind of meander. They're diluting shares. Revenue's getting bigger. What is their guidance? I mean, maybe this has got a bottom. If you know this company really well and you think they're going to meet these estimates, then this would be a good buy, in my opinion. But I don't know the company as well. And I would feel safer with NVIDIA personally as a purchase, which I don't even own. So, Matterport. All right, let me just read this here. MB says, see this true. Farmers hate not owning their stuff. Most of them buy cash. Yeah, I totally believe it. Rambler, Matterport, I think real estate might be in the uptick with lower interest rates. I don't know that I care right now. The problem is Matterport is going through a restructuring, getting purchased by a new company. So I just don't know where this is headed. You're right. It could totally do well, but they're in a buyout phase. So is a risk arb at this point since it's being acquired. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I just don't. I wouldn't touch it right now just because again they're in an acquisition mode, and you just don't know what's going to happen. You got to understand the company better, and if you do, great. MB, another obvious put is Toyota, but I got the timing wrong. Yeah, I just don't know if you can make enough. Chris says, thank you, bro. C-list VIX M is one VIX related ETF. There are many. Yeah, you could do an ETF. It's probably easier than an options play, but just watch out. The VIX has already moved so much. Yeah, so just watch out. VIX is great. It's great to have insurance before you need it. But as much as we've fallen, I don't know. I don't know if now is the right time for insurance. I think on an upswing maybe. But that's what we should all look at, right? Like we should check all these options and not options, but opportunities and figure out which one could be the best hedge, and we should talk about them. And I really like Deere. I'm going to run some numbers probably with some of the former hedges that I was looking at, like the Best Buys and the Starbucks and Deere, and see what kind of puts are available, and if there's anything that would act as good insurance, or again, just something simple like TMF where you think rates are going to come down. Spencer. EXPI is real estate related. Just posted Q2 earnings. Yeah, let's check that out. Actually, we don't do enough with real estate, so let's take a look. Do I have it? I do. Cool. Got a nice little bounce above peak volumes all the way across the board. Did you say they just came out? Was it a today earnings thing? I don't know if this one will be one of the main ones that get updated right away, but we can take a look. Yeah, it did. Okay, Q2 2024. Good looking earnings number. One of the highest we've had in the last couple of years. Net income positive. They made 12.38. Forward PE is 54. It's a little high, I would argue, for real estate. So that would be my worry is the current valuation. And we don't have estimates for it to go up a lot. So I don't know if this is going to be like a good one now, or if it's going to maybe roll over and start becoming a good one in a quarter or two. Let me know your thoughts if you know more about it. But otherwise, it seems a little, I mean, they got nice cash flow, no debt. Short interest is 26%. Are you shitting me? That's a huge amount of short interest. That must be all these hedge funds thinking this company's going to fail. I don't know if they actually know something or if they're just taking some consolidated like bets across different companies in the sector. But I do like, again, like this operating leverage is, the expenses aren't really high. And if the market does take off, you can see revenue starting to come up. It's just, I just wish the valuation, I wish this was something a lot lower, like half. That would make me feel better about the investment. OSS. I don't know if I know what that is. Let me see. One Stop Systems. Oh, okay. I think we talked about this one the other day. Maybe. What are they? Computer hardware. Doesn't make any money. Losing revenue. P of 14. Oof. Massive 2023 revenue loss. What is OSS? Is this just because some of these companies, you got to watch out, man. They can just be a succubus and steal all your money. That's why they call them value traps. Yes, Alexander, only for short-term and simplicity. Matter earnings coming up tomorrow after close. Cool. Yeah, let me know how they do. I just worry, again, they might do better in the future. The buyout really helped, and that's how I doubled my money, and some people got hundreds and hundreds of % of gains if they had shorter dated options with a lower price target. But I don't know outside of that. I just don't know if that's a good investment now when you have a company acquiring them. Yeah, this thing looks dangerous from a chart level. OSS looks dangerous. This does not look like a strong stock. The financials don't look good. It went from $4.60 to $2 in a period of 4 months, almost 5 months, and it looks like it wants to go worse. maybe we can test this 50-cent level. I don't know. I hate this fucking chart, so I would not own this if I was you, Tom. Alexander, you got killed on the roll with VIX ETF. Lots of costs on roll. Yeah, man, that's the problem, right? Like when they roll over from day to day, you end up getting eaten up. So just like you would with options, there's this theta decay that happens with these VIX ETFs. It's only something you want to enter when something's going like absolutely great, and or you think there's like a catastrophic event coming that other people don't understand yet. Then you could get these VIX ETFs for a short period of time, but otherwise they'll eat you up, just like options. Over periods of time, they'll eat it up. That's theta decay, man. It sucks. You get it in these like 2-3x multiplier option plays too. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna go and spend some time with the kid. I would play the buy the fucking dip video, but I don't know. I don't know, man. So let's just let's find something else here. We'll do a Bitcoin's going to zero. That sounds popular right now. Bitcoin going to zero. I think that's probably happening. So let's play that video. You guys have a good day, and I will see you. I might even do another video tomorrow. Things are going to be so crazy, I think, this week. I might just have to do a market recap every day. So you guys take it easy. Thank you guys, too, for giving out some free memberships. That's awesome. It helps. I try and keep good spirits, but sometimes I get down, too, when there's just tons of negativity. It's hard to stay positive. And so I appreciate every bit of kindness that you guys have. It's fucking awesome. All right, here we go. Peace out, guys. See ya.
I've always been deeply opposed to crypto.
Last year, cryptocurrency funded every kind of dangerous criminal.
But I would not touch crypto in a million years.
Bitcoin is going to zero.
If I was the government, I'd close it down.
People are losing money in scams and huckster flim-flam artists.
These people who own these things should not own your money in any of those. I do think you're an idiot, okay?
It's over.
Go fuck yourself.
Go fuck yourself. Is that clear?